Hi, everybody. Today is Tuesday. Yes, happy Tuesday. Happy to have you all here. My name is Juliet. If you are watching us via LinkedIn or YouTube, or if you find us because ADP Liz, we are so happy to have you here. In the last 4 weeks, today is week 4, we've been talking about so many good topics about job readiness, and we've been going from understanding your strengths, who you are, your value, about storytelling. Last week was about portfolio, how to show your work. And because you've been learning so much, now let's put that in practice and put it in what is today's topic, that is resume and LinkedIn optimization. I'm so pumped about this. I feel like a lot of people have been asking. So make sure if you are watching us live right now, you write down your questions on the comments, either in YouTube and LinkedIn. I will be able to ask the questions to Monica at the end. Okay, so make sure that you write them as you go, so it's easy for me to ask the questions. So let's start. Hi, Monica. Nice to have you.
Hello.
Finally, I was just talking to Monica. We got the chance to meet sometimes. I feel like last year, maybe.
Mhm.
And I've been talking about Cherry and Tech for so long. And because we ended up moving the job readiness out of the cohort program just in an old initiative, I'm so excited to have you here.
Yes.
Well, I will just move into the side. I will just leave the floor for you. Let me just share your screen, and thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah. So today we're going to talk a little bit about LinkedIn optimization and resume optimization. I'm Monica. I'm a tech recruiter. I work for a small little agency in Alberta called Teamit. We hire in tech. And again, the agenda for today, LinkedIn Recruiter's View. I'm going to show you what I see so that you have an idea on how to change potentially your profile. So what I see makes more sense. And then take a look a little bit on resume overview. I actually keep sending the questions through the presentation. Obviously, I've prepared a presentation, but I always prefer my presentations to be, even if people start interrupting me, to ask questions that are more relevant to them. I prefer it that way because I want my presentations to be as relevant as possible for those watching. So if what I prepared is not relevant, is not what is interesting you guys, please feel free to just start asking questions and I'll kind of pivot my presentation and just stop sharing my screen. The first thing that I like to do in any of my presentations is just to give a massive disclaimer, because the bottom line is recruitment is a biased process. There are multiple things that involve and that make an impact on decisions that are made. One, there are people that are looking at your profile and interviewing you, and people make decisions, and people are ultimately biased because we're humans. Each situation that you might get a no or a yes, it's all based on the company's environment, the company's context, the hiring manager's requirements. So there's a lot around it that could impact a decision. The reality is that we can see a lot of things out there on recommendations on how to do your LinkedIn, how to do your resume, how to answer questions on interviews. But there is no true one way for anything. Just like most things in life, there's not 100% this is the only way to get a success. There are only a few true 100% don't do's. And if you guys want me to tell you guys some of them, it's fine, but I want to focus more on the other stuff. And biggest thing is take every tip that you get with a grain of salt, including mine today. So what you're going to do is, after this presentation, you're going to think about the things that I've said and put it into context to the job that you're applying or to the types of roles that you're applying, or and pick and choose the ones that make sense for your context. Okay. So first, I usually actually show a LinkedIn recruiter, but I didn't want to have my screen being shared with people's contacts and information on it. So I just took a screenshot of one of the things at LinkedIn Recruiter that I look at, and I'll kind of break down a little bit on what I see, what I look at, and what I'm searching for when I'm looking at this page. So pretty much this page is the page that I use to search for people. On the left side here, you can see there are filters in which I put some things. This was a search I did this morning, and I just took a screenshot of it. I was looking for a lead developer. They have to be located in Brazil. And this bottom one here says keywords, and I put Python and Django, I think. And these are the main skills custom filters that you get when you open this page. But there is an advanced search that you can get a bunch more filters that can be used. But these are the main ones that I assume LinkedIn Recruiter puts it there already immediately, because most recruiters use these as their main search criteria. Once you input a few of these into the criteria of what you're searching, you'll see that at the top here, we'll start getting the spotlights. These are other formats of inputting even more filters into my search. Obviously, the main one is the open to work. This one could be both the green banner where it's visible to everyone that you're open to work, or also the one that is, there's no green banner, but it's open to work just for recruiters to see. Because there is that feature, if you didn't know, you can put your profile to open to work, but only I can see it. Not even people in the company that you're currently working at would be able to see that open to work. So I could filter that. This one is filtered because you can see I have 144 results right now and 144 open to work. If I hadn't clicked it, there would be more people. Active talent are people that have recently uploaded their resume or have made comments on posts, or just people that have been active on LinkedIn. This is also a feature that we use sometimes, because most of the time people that are active on LinkedIn are people that will be faster at responding potentially. So that's a filter that we could use. Rediscovered candidates are candidates that I've potentially previously spoken with or someone in my company has spoken with. Internal candidates, pretty self-explanatory, people that work in your company already, and people that are interested in your company. So this is a feature, I don't know if you guys know, you can go to a company's page on LinkedIn and say that you're interested in the company, so that when I'm looking for people, I can see people that are interested. This is the high-level overview of the highlights and filters that I can use, but really what I want to focus on is showing you what I see on a profile. So every profile that I see comes out this way. Now, I know there's a lot blocked off here just because I wanted to keep this person's identity hidden, but I see the picture, I see their name, their current title that they're holding, what company they're working at, and this part here that says Python, Node.js, AWS, Terraform, and JavaScript is their LinkedIn header, okay? This one immediately tells me that this guy considers himself a Python, Node.js, AWS, Terraform, and JavaScript expert, right? One of the languages that I was looking for this morning was Python. A lot of people will have worked with Python previously, but are not experts in it. If you're putting it on your header, it highlights that skill as one of your main skills. So that's why it's so important to make sure that your header tells a quick story of your expertise, okay? Then obviously I see a little bit of where they live, how many years of experience they have, and then after is just title, company, and length of work. Nothing else. If I want to see more in depth, I have to click the profile. However, when I'm going through this quick search, I am seeing titles in the header. So if I'm looking for someone technical, and that is a senior dev or a UX designer or even if it's a UX designer, for example, I'm looking for someone that is expert in Figma, then there you go. I would be wanting to see Figma up here because then it pulls my idea on this profile to look further. I didn't take screenshots of his profile later on, but his profile is pretty well filled out. And because of that, I actually did reach out to this guy for the role that I was hiring for. So right now, this is what I see, and this is what I like to show on the LinkedIn Recruiter side to highlight why the header is actually so important to be optimized, to showcase your strengths. I'm just going to look here to see if there's already any questions. I think
I
there
will be
are.
no. I will be showing you as we go, but I feel like this is a good reminder for everybody that is watching us right now. I know that I said questions at the end, but Monica would like questions as we go. Uh, I'm already blown away with how you're showing your point of view as a recruiter. So again, if you are in YouTube or LinkedIn, make sure that you're typing down your questions, and I will ask them as we go.
Perfect. I didn't take screenshots of more profiles. Maybe I should have, but when I open someone's profile, I usually open the about section that you guys write to see a little bit of what they write about. Sometimes they have their preferred form of contact over there. But obviously my main focus is going down to the experience. And this is why your LinkedIn should be as filled out as your resume. Don't just have title and, the key skills that you use, because a lot of the times when I'm hiring, I need to understand in what context you've done the things that you've done. So for example, specifically with Python is a language that can be used for backend development, but it is also a language that can be used for data. And if I understand the types of projects, the types of companies that you worked with, that gives me more context to make me understand if what you've done in your career actually relates to what I'm looking for. So make sure that your LinkedIn is actually a live resume of what you have on your resume. If some questions come up about LinkedIn, I'll come back to this. But now let's take a quick look at resumes. I will show here one that there's a guy that he posts on Instagram a lot, on LinkedIn a lot. And so this is his post, the way that he broke it down, but I really like it. So I'm just going to reuse it. If you guys want to take a look, his name is obviously Diego Granados. And I'll break it down and I'll give an example, even with my own resume, on how I would not do my resume and what I would do with my resume. But this resume is really well broken down with, as you can see, the red words are strong actions, strong verbs of what he's done. These I'm not too worried about if you guys don't use the best words. What I'm really focused on when I'm looking at a resume is if you're giving me context to what you do, accomplishments, not just your daily tasks. So don't tell me that you debugged, you did a lot of debugging, because that doesn't give me anything. I need to understand what technologies you've used, what types of accomplishments or results that has given to the company. Because a lot of the times companies are looking for people that, not a lot of the times, all of the times, they want people that will come in to either make them more money or find ways to reduce ways of spending money so that they can save more money, right? So if you have a way of describing that, it doesn't have to be directly related to, financial things, but, developed a tool or upgraded a software, an application that went from 10 seconds of loading time to 3 seconds loading time. That already tells me, right, a major thing that you did that saved them time, which then in results saves them money, right? But anyway, so the red are strong words. The blue are big accomplishment, the blue are relevant skills. The green is technical skills, and the yellow is the big accomplishments or impact that he had. Why this is important? Because he's really focusing on impact, not just day-to-day tasks. So for example here, design a data transformation process that increased business efficiency by 30%. Obviously here I want to see, how did you increase that efficiency? While managing a UX UI development team to automate performance scorecards for 400. So he went in depth a little bit about what he did, right? It gives me a little bit of context of the size of the project, what types of teams he worked on. For a UX role, this could look like developed a Figma, a high fidelity Figma prototype that showcased yada 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 using Figma, yada yada yada. Right? Obviously, I don't have a UX runway in front of me. Now I want to give a really simple example on why it's so different and why it makes such a different impact. So let's say that I have my resume and I'm trying to apply for roles. I'm a recruiter, right? If my resume says conducted interviews, right? That is something that for someone that has been in recruitment in the past and has been a recruiter, is something expected of me. Of course, I've conducted interviews. That's literally what a recruiter does. Debug tools, of course, a developer did that. Like if you're just giving me things that are, of course, this person has done it, it's not giving me any extra information. Instead of me saying conducted interviews, I should probably focus on was able to convert 80 to 20% ratio of interviews to placement. And for those who are not in recruitment, this is just me saying, like, out of 10 people that I sent for a role that interviewed, 2 got a placement, right? So this is telling them my conversion ratio between work into money or people placed, or right. So obviously it is implied within that context of me saying that I've sent 10 people and 2 got hired that I've conducted interviews, because I am a recruiter. But one gives me a lot more information than the other. And let's see. No questions yet? Interesting.
No, I have questions, but I was letting you stop here. Sorry. Yes, I do have questions. Okay. Do you want me to start with the ones with the resume, and then we go back to the LinkedIn ones?
Let's go to LinkedIn.
Yes.
First.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Hold on. Okay. Here. So one from Mega. How do I use the interest in your company feature on LinkedIn? Does it make a big difference to you when you are hiring?
So in my case, no, but that's because I guess this is a good point for me to explain the difference between, there are 2 major types of recruiters. One is an agency recruiter and the other is an in-house or corporate recruiter. There are multiple different names, but an in-house recruiter is someone, for example, that works for Amazon and hires for people that are going to work for Amazon. So they hire for internal teams. In my case, I hire for companies that are using my service, right? They pay for me to find people to work for them. So if you click that you're interested in my company, it doesn't mean anything in my context because you wouldn't be working for my company. So I can't tell you if recruiters that do hire in-house actually use that tool and that feature. I've never hired in-house, so I can't really answer to that aspect of it. It's pretty simple. Just go to the company's profile. There's the ellipses, the 3 little dots, which are called ellipses, and then you can find the interested in this company.
I do have a question though. Yeah. What would be like a don't do on LinkedIn? Like, what would be something like, oh my goodness, what is this person thinking? Why are they putting that information? Or why they are not putting enough information? What are the don'ts on LinkedIn?
Major don't do's, and they also go to resume, because a lot of people do post their resume on LinkedIn, right? So don't put your full address on your resume, because LinkedIn is public and there are, nefarious people out there looking to scam. So you don't want your full address out there. Give the full address to the company when it's the point of requirement for that. So that's a major don't. Other major don'ts, and these have to do with like a little bit of cultural aspect. I've seen a lot of Brazilians. I do hire a lot of Brazilians, so I do see a lot of their resumes. But a lot of the times they mention their marital status or their religion or things like that. Those aspects, their age even on their resume, which then goes to LinkedIn. I don't need to know that. I shouldn't know that. That shouldn't influence my decision on to hiring you or not for a position. So big no-nos are things like that.
And I love that context. Again, I'm Colombian, and I feel like this is like a Colombian thing, definitely to do. I don't know, again, it's Latin American thing, like
Yeah.
your age, your marital status, and yes. Okay, here, another one. This is for Beatriz. Can you give us more examples of the tools you put in your research when you are looking for a UX designer?
That's always dependent on what the client needs, because the bottom line is some companies use more Photoshop than Figma. So then I'm going to be looking for a Photoshop UX designer. If they're more of a Figma, I know that now I think they've one bought another or something like that. So
That
maybe
didn't fell through. Didn't go through. It
go through.
happened for
Okay.
a bit, and then it didn't happen.
Okay. So like it's just dependent on the requirements. So that's also something that I can't really give a specific. What you can do for your search is, search on, a lot of the times ChatGPT knows these answers. Sometimes it's incorrect, but you can go and like say, what companies are Figma companies in blank area of the world? And then you can have an idea if your expertise is in Figma to target those specific companies instead of the ones that use Photoshop.
What would be like a good add-on or something maybe that you have seen unique in some LinkedIn's that can catch your eye and I say, oh, I want to know more about this person? Is there
Not much.
anything like that?
No, not much, because the bottom line is when I'm looking for people, I'm looking for specific people, right? And it's your LinkedIn can be the worst LinkedIn. And this is why also I'm saying your resume and LinkedIn matter, but they probably don't matter as much as people feel right now, just because the market is so competitive. So it's a really tough market. So people are thinking these are the only things you can do. Which, yes, you can always optimize your resume and you can always optimize your LinkedIn to make it better. Your interview can be better, answering in a star method and whatever. But the bottom line is I have looked at really terrible LinkedIns and terrible resumes, but they had the skills that I needed. I talked to them. I coached them how to update their resume to send to the client, and then they got the job. So there really isn't necessarily, unless I'm like proactively looking for people, which I don't necessarily do because I'm always just looking for specific people. So I don't think there is an answer to that I would know how to answer.
Makes sense though. And I mean, you are looking LinkedIn from a different perspective that we do as people who's looking for a job. Like, is it specifically what you want? Yes. And okay, I know that something that you mentioned here for this profile is they are mentioning on their profile, like on the top, on the title, exactly what they're expert on. I know, and I don't know if this has to do maybe with UX designers, that sometimes we say we're creative and curious. How do we go away? Should we go away from that and then concentrate on a little more tangible skills?
You can have both. Like I think, and I'll even look at mine right now because I think I have on mine tech recruiter / DEI / passionate about empowering others to reach their potential. So like it tells a little bit of a story of the things that I want to focus on, which is DEI and helping people. But I am a technical recruiter, so that's what I do, right? So if you want to be a curious, innovative, creative, blah, blah, blah person, but then also Figma,
Yeah. Love it. Okay, I feel like that's it. Do I have more? No, I feel like I don't have any more questions on LinkedIn, but then we can. Oh, hold on. What is this? Hold on. I do have more questions.
Perfect.
Oh, no, but they're all resume. I just want to make sure that I did all the linking.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. I feel like I think for Amanda, I think when you started sharing this, is this a good example? And can we get a copy? And I know that you shared at the beginning that we can follow this person on Instagram and LinkedIn.
I can send the link.
Yeah.
Can I send the link in the message?
Yeah, I feel like if you go into messages, it comes to me and I can share that with everybody. And I will put it on the summary and the video description so everybody can access to it.
Okay, I'll send it to you on Slack just because I'm not seeing how I can send it here.
Perfect. Maybe while you do that, I can do this. And this is from Noriko. Hi, Noriko. Noriko is one of our furry mentors here at Cherry on Tech. I hope that you're smiling as I'm saying hi to you. I've been in a job hopper for a while, so my resume is always two-pack. Do you think it should be split in 2 pages or omit some of the experience, even if it creates a gap?
So this is one of those things that, again, back to my disclaimer at the start, recruiting is ultimately a biased process, which means that every person will have a different opinion on this. And that includes recruiters. My company, we are about 9 people, and we cannot decide on one thing that is the ultimate best resume. Because we all have different opinions. My opinion, if the experience that you have on your resume is relevant, I want to see it, even if it makes it 2, 3, potentially even 4 pages. More than 4 pages, probably too long, probably going too far back in your experience. But to me, if it's relevant, like if it's not your server job in 2015 that you did before you got your first job in tech, I personally find it relevant because it gives me more context to your skill sets. Other recruiters will say like this guy probably wrote a 1 resume page just because he thought that was the best, right? I personally think he could have gone more in depth because he's a senior product manager, so he could give more context. Again, the job hopping could be something that people will think is worrisome. Gaps on your resume could be something that people think is worrisome. Each person will have a different opinion on that. So unfortunately, the answer to that is it depends.
I know, and I forgot to mention that I love the disclaimer at the beginning. When you were sharing, everybody will have their own way of looking at things and what they're looking for. So it's so hard to each of us put it into everybody's and try to fit in everybody's agenda of what they're looking for. Bandana, oh, look at this. Bandana, another Cherry mentor from Cherry on Tech here. How to best approach a resume and application without related degree or with an unconventional work experience, like volunteer experience, group projects, contract gigs?
Without related degree, the degree part I'll say in tech is not something I've ever had to focus on. So I never look at the degree part. This is also one thing that in this resume specifically, I would change the education to the bottom of the resume. Because the top of your resume, the top third, is the most important piece of your resume. And because in tech specifically, that is not something that is that relevant, doesn't have to be at the top. So a relevant degree, I wouldn't worry about that unless the role specifically asks, like, hey, we need someone with a degree in biochemistry because the product is in that space for some reason. Unconventional work experience, like volunteer experience, group projects, contract gigs. I'm assuming you or the people that you're mentoring are junior and breaking into tech, which means that they need to focus on first making sure that they are applying for positions that are to their level, which I know are fewer and far between right now, but applying for positions that require 3 years of experience when they have none, you can't create that experience. Unfortunately, like even with projects like Cherry on Tech and things like these showcase a personality type. It showcases an eagerness. It showcases things that I am looking in a junior person, but it won't give you work professional experience, unfortunately. So you can't do that. So make sure that they are applying to the correct positions, and then just put a section of projects, and then just exactly the same as the resume is for professional experience. Have your projects there, because the bottom line is, when I'm looking for someone that is junior, I want to see how this person deals with the problems of hitting a roadblock. So knowing that someone that has never worked in a as a career, as a UX or a developer or a data engineer or something like that, but they started a project from start to end, they've 100% reached 15 to like 100 roadblocks through that process, and they figured out a way how to circumvent it. Could it have been the worst way to go about it? Yes, but they found a way to finish the project. So we want to see like full life projects that you did, and they don't have to be groundbreaking. I think a lot of people get stuck on projects that are groundbreaking, because the thing is, if everyone that is new in the industry is doing a groundbreaking project, they wouldn't be trying to get a job, they would be starting their own startup, right? So like, I'll tell you, there are two that are the juniors that talked to me and told me their projects that have stuck on my brain. So this one guy, he liked beer a lot. I don't even drink beer, but he liked beer a lot. So he built a website that gave him recommendations of what beer would go best with the type of food he was having for dinner, so he could choose the beer he was going to drink that night. Like, is it a usable tool? For him, but for no one else, right? Or probably for other people too, but it's not a live thing being used. And then this other guy, he played a lot of League of Legends and liked to watch the professional competitions, and he and his friends were like making bets about it. So he built a tool that would analyze the team's performance previously to give a potential result based on the team's performance against the other team and with what champions they were playing. And it had like an 80% success rate. So he was winning every bet because of this stupid tool that he built, right? But he built a tool just for fun. So like, just do something that potentially does something for you, and build that project and put it on your resume in a project section.
I love that. I know that I want to ask a question around, I forgot to ask you that. How important it is to have a LinkedIn? Is this something that recruiters are looking for people to have and find you?
Yes, I would say yes nowadays. Like, every time that I open a resume, I do try and find their LinkedIn. Sometimes I don't find it. It doesn't deter me from calling the person if I think they are a fit, but having a LinkedIn does give me a little bit more to look at. And potentially, some people have a resume that is better than a LinkedIn, and sometimes it's the other way around. So sometimes I go from the resume to the LinkedIn, and I was like, oh, this is why this person is actually not a fit. It makes it easier for me to also vet the clients, the companies that they've worked for, and I can go take a look at the types of industries they've worked at. Because though I do hire in tech, there are so many companies, I don't know all of them. So for me to get the contact, sometimes also clicking through it's a little bit more helpful. So I would say yes, but not having it, if you have the right skill set, again, it's not going to be a deterrent for me to not to talk to you.
And maybe that takes me to a question that I know that the people who are right now in the job readiness support space on Cherry Tech were interested to know, that is about ATS compliance resumes, because now we're talking about maybe we don't do it through LinkedIn, but I'm sending my resume and no one is looking at my resume because it's not going through, it's not making it to the hands that it needs to get. What do we do about ATS?
So I think the first thing that I like to talk about anytime I get an ATS question is to just demystify a little bit, because there are a lot of incorrect information out there. ATS is not AI. ATS is an applicant tracking system. All that is fancy talk for online filing cabinet. What that means is, if your resume is supposed to be written for a organizational change manager, but for some reason the system picked up the words that you put in and thinks you're a project manager, it's putting you in the project manager filing cabinet. So that's why it's important that you make sure that the words that you're using are relevant to what you actually do and are giving context to your career so that you're put in the correct filing cabinet. Why does that matter? Because an ATS, again, it's a filing cabinet. So when I go back to my ATS and I'm searching for people before I go to LinkedIn and post a job, hopefully if I'm searching for a project manager, you're in the project manager filing cabinet and it comes back up. The ATS will not automatically decline you from a position or anything like that. There are knockout questions that recruiters might put on their website or on LinkedIn with, like, for example, where do you live? Do you have 2 years of experience with so and so? Those things would automatically put you in the no section. When it comes to your resume is not going through in this current market, you just need to make sure that speed, you're applying like within the first couple of hours of when the job was posted, unfortunately, and two, that you're actually a fit for the role. I just talked to a friend recruiter of mine that works in a major company. They had over 1,500 people apply for a role, and he, no joke, said there were 2 people that actually made sense that had applied. And this is why also the numbers that you see on LinkedIn, don't look at them. If you're a fit for the role, apply, but make sure that you're a fit for the role. In the previous markets, you would hear people saying, if you're 60% fit for the role, apply for the role. In this current market, I'd say if you're 80% fit for the role, that's your higher chance of actually getting contacted for. 60%, you still think you should apply. But then if you don't get answered back, don't think that it's because your resume is not optimized for it. It's potentially you just don't have the skill set that they're looking for. Because there's always a human looking at it. They might quickly decide that you're a no, but somebody is making the decision to put you on the no pile. Now, again, it could be that you took so long to apply, you were on the thousands of the applicants. At that point, they had already decided the 20 that they were going to call. Out of the 20, they interviewed 2. Out of the 2, 1 got the offer. So then you immediately go to the no because they've already chosen someone else. The only other thing that I'd say for ATS specifics, or actually there's 2 more things that I'd say for ATS specific questions. A lot of designers build their resumes on Figma and download it as PDF. I don't know why Figma resumes are not readable on ATS for some reason. Plain black and white resume on Word doc, download it as PDF, and that's probably better when you're uploading it to a ATS. Now, if you're sending it via email to a human, you can use your Figma one. You can use your more well-designed, beautiful one. But for a plain ATS, plain black and white, no columns, that's also something else. So all the ATS does is reads what it says and assumes what it is and puts it into its box. So you know when you put a resume into a website and it autofills the stuff, and if it's autofilling it incorrectly, that means there's probably something wrong with your resume and it's not picking up it correctly. So, for example, if it's in one line, you have the title of the job that you had, the company, and then because it's a column resume, next to it you have your degree and the school that you studied. The system sees the name of a company and a title and assumes everything that line has to do with the company and the title that you have and merges it all into that instead of separating the second column into your study degree. So that is not merging it correctly. So those are a couple of things to keep in mind. If you are really worried about it, plain one ugly resume on a Word, and that's the best.
I love it. I feel like for us, for our designers, when you say that, it's just such a hard feeling, yes. But it's totally understandable, and like you were saying, that's more a safe way to go. And again, I feel people is looking for what you can do, know how pretty your resume looks like.
But then you have your portfolio link probably, yes. Right? And that's where I actually look for a designer like context of what they do is in their portfolio. It doesn't have to be a website. It could be a Behance account. It could be another, like a PDF within a PDF that you click and it downloads another one, right? So going to the other part, that's where I would see you as a designer, not as skills.
On my how design my resume. I want to ask you about. I know that you were mentioning that one of your colleagues or recruiter friends got like 1,500 applications. And I know like whoever we ask about this question is like we get thousands and thousands for one. Could you just, I know this is not even maybe related to this, but I just want people to know how you go through this process of like so many people applying for a job. Like how much time do you spend in a resume? How much time would you as a recruiter spend in a portfolio? And then you said we went to 20 people of those 1,500, even though maybe the 600 and 500 didn't make it to that short list because they applied too late.
Yeah, so those were just numbers that I was throwing out there just so you know, but I actually don't have that problem because fortunately, I guess in this current market, I'm less of a recruiter, I'm more of a headhunter. My company doesn't post their jobs on anywhere. So I don't get applicants. I search through my ATS system, which already has over 15,000 people. And then if I don't find anyone there, that's when I go to search on LinkedIn Recruiter. Another reason why having a LinkedIn is important because I'm not the only one. A lot of companies don't post jobs. They just send people to find those people, right? I'm the needle in the haystack finder instead of posting and getting people to apply. So in my case, I don't have those issues. I have had a few times where I send like a job that I'm hiring for in specific groups because I'm so connected with groups that I like to try and use them for when I'm searching. And I can say that every time that I post a job, either on the Discord or on the Slack channel or whatever, I would say 98% of the people that send me their profile are not a fit. They probably didn't actually read the message because I'm very specific with saying it has to be in Calgary and you have to be incorporated. And then somebody sends me their profile and they're like, I haven't arrived in Canada yet. I was like, well, I can't consider you for the role. I'm sorry. Right. So I don't get the volume. And because of that, I can reply to every person that messages me for positions that I do post, because then it's like 20 and then I get one person that is potential fit. But yeah, so I don't know necessarily how they go about with that volume. When it comes to how long I stay on a resume, when I'm doing a search on my system, I put the keywords of what I'm looking for. My system gives me, I try to whittle it down until I have 100 resumes to look at. And then 100 resumes takes me about an hour to go through and figure out those that are a fit for me to talk to. When it comes to, are they still living in Calgary if it's a Calgary position, like going through their LinkedIn to see that. Have they just started a new role a month ago? Do they actually have the skill set that I'm looking for? It takes me about 6 seconds to decide. No, 6 seconds too quick, actually. I'd say like 15 seconds looking quickly in the profile within my system if I should look further. And then if I do look further, it takes me about a minute and a half. So then it's an hour to go through the entire 100. I pick the few that I'm going to reach out and I reach out to them. So my process is slightly different than what those people that post positions have.
I feel like I'm asking questions that maybe, again, I don't know if that has to do with the topic, but now that I have it here, is like, I feel like one of the things that a lot of people that is looking for jobs will going to do is contact every single recruiter that exists everywhere. Yes. How useful is this as me looking for a job, or can I put my energy somewhere else? Like maybe that's the question. Where should I put my energy as a job seeker in this market these days?
Well, first of all, make sure that when you're reaching out to a recruiter, you understand if they're an in-house or a corporate or agency recruiter. because that does make a difference on how you're going to reach out. Like when people reach out to me and they're saying, I would love to work for your company, I immediately know they either don't understand what I do or they didn't even look at my profile. Chances of me answering are very, very minimal in that position because I have so many people reaching out. I give preference for those that actually created a connection. Now, in the current market, because there have been so many people talking about the reach outs and like talk to the hiring manager, reach out to somebody that works there and ask for a referral and things like that. We're inundated with that right now. And that means that I just don't have the bandwidth. I can't help everyone. But for example, I can give an example today. Somebody sent me a message and I'll actually go take a look. It was a big message and I read them all, but she actually had an actionable item that I could take 2 minutes to answer. She was like, hey, I'm seeing a lot of people talking about it. It actually was a UX designer. I'm seeing a lot of people, as I explore job opportunities, I've noticed that many job descriptions request for a link to your portfolio. Can you help me understand what does this mean? Why do they require that? And then I just answer that to her quickly. Now, will I always answer when I have time and it's kind of relevant? Have I made connections to the people reaching out? Yes. I've actually had one of my greatest friends here in Calgary was someone that originally reached out just to say, hey, I work in tech. I'm moving to Calgary. I'm also Brazilian. We connected that way, took her out for dinner, and then now we're friends. I've never found her a job though, but I made a friend. So like, should you spend effort into this? If there's a genuine reason for you to want to connect with this person, yes. Is there something that you see that they've talked about, that they presented about, or that they do that you're genuinely curious about? Yes, of course, because most people, humans inherently, are looking for connection, right? It's just another form of making a connection. But if they don't reply, don't take it to heart. We're busy and we're inundated with it.
Love it. And I love that genuine part. Yes, I feel like you were saying, like me as a looking for a job, I'm just start messaging every single person that come through my LinkedIn as a copy and paste. That's not genuine at one point, and I feel like that's the response that you will get for most of them. And again, people don't have the time and the bandwidth to just reply to absolutely everything. But I'm glad and I'm happy that you found a friend. I mean, this is how I met you two, through a friend of a friend, and this is how we're doing connections all around the world these days.
Exactly.
So I love it. I have a couple more questions, and for whoever is watching us, I was going to ask Monica, do you have anything else to present, or that
No.
was it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So for whoever is still watching us and you still have questions, please type them down so I can share them, because I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know what you want to ask. Okay, so we have Basuda. Hi, Basuda, UX writer again for Cherry on Tech. Love it. What is preference for applicants who are in the same region, like in Ontario, but applying for jobs in Calgary?
This is a tough one for the current market, because the reality is, if you're not in Calgary and the company is looking for someone in Calgary, chances are I can find someone that is already in Calgary looking for work in Calgary. So unless you have a very niche skill set, I actually have one right now that I've been looking for a while and I can't find it. So I've at this point started going out of Calgary across Canada to say, hey, you want to relocate? Because I can't find it in Calgary. But it's a very niche skill set. For most skill sets right now, if you're looking to work in a specific city, unless the company mentions that they're willing to help you relocate, assume that right now, chances are low that they're going to see that you're in Ontario and they're just going to move on to the next person, unfortunately, because it's just such a competitive market. Sorry, but still apply. Who knows?
Yeah, I love my mouse. Yeah, but apply. And I feel like, again, it has to do a lot with, I lost my buttons here. It has to do a lot with numbers when people is applying for jobs at this point too. It's a mix between all the 1,000 jobs that you apply and 2 jobs that you really care and apply with a little more diligence. But okay. Okay, yes, I have data. Data tricks. How do you prefer to find portfolios on resumes? How do you evaluate portfolios in a recruiting process?
Um, I personally don't necessarily care. If you, as long as you have a portfolio, if it's a PDF, if it's a clickable Figma thing, if it's Behance, if it's your own website, like the one thing I'll say with websites though, make sure that thing actually works because and that everything is showing your design well because a lot of the times I go see a website and then it's like there are pieces that are missing or they're not well, like this word is on top of this word. And unfortunately, that showcases that your design is not working so well, right? So, and it could be that's because, it's a different computer screen size, but then it might be better to just have it on a different format so those issues don't potentially happen. But for that, don't necessarily care how you show the portfolio, just not within the resume. It has to be a link to something else. The other thing is don't have like 17 different links. Have one link where everything is in it, because that is something that I've had happen that I had to have 5 different tabs open to see their experience. How do I evaluate portfolios in the recruitment process? To be honest, I don't because I am not the person deciding if what you are designing is a fit for what the client needs. I find someone that is technically and as experienced to the level of what the client is looking for, and then the client decides if the design type or whatever it is that you're doing is up to the standards of what they want. I'm not a technical person. I'm not an artistic. I am artistic, but I'm not a design person. So I don't have that eye to make a decision if a design is good or not.
Perfect, love it. And maybe if we can finish with maybe 3 things that people could do today to make their resume and LinkedIn better. 3 simple things. I mean, there is so many, but they can start today doing it.
Again, make sure that your LinkedIn is as filled as your resume is, if not more, because some people are worried about the length of the resume. LinkedIn, you don't have that. So go ham on your LinkedIn. Put all of the projects, all of the things in there. 2, make sure that you're focusing on accomplishments and things that you delivered, not on day-to-day tasks. So like I mentioned earlier, I didn't conduct interviews. I had a X amount ratio for interview to placement, right? So you want to be focused on what you accomplished, what you achieved. So achieved, I think that link that I sent is very good at saying like I accomplished X, Y, and Z by doing B using ABC, right? So focusing on accomplishments, technical skills that you've used, and things like that. The third thing, again, just it's not to do with what you can update. The headline. The headline is really important. So that one is one. Make sure that it actually tells a quick story. That's your elevator pitch in LinkedIn format. If your elevator pitch is good there, it will entice me to look further. And so the headline is really important. Yeah, I'd say those 3 are really good ones to focus on. I
Love
think
it.
you mentioned earlier, what was it that you said that triggered something in my brain that I wanted to talk about? Um,
Oh my goodness.
if it comes back to me, I'll say it. But do you?
Yes. Maybe and something else, and this is something that we were mentioning at the beginning, that there's a lot of people that is transitioning into a new space, and then when you go into the LinkedIn's, I'm going to give my example. I used to be in retail, so my LinkedIn, it was like 100% retail. Yes. What happened? Oh, you know that this is something interesting too, that these people that is switching into careers, they are in their current jobs. Again, me as a store manager, but I'm trying to get into tech. What do I do with my LinkedIn? Yes, like, oh, I don't want my present or my current job to know that I'm done with retail management and now I want to move into tech. what do I do with my LinkedIn?
Have that open to work hidden for the recruiters or just for the recruiters, but everything else you can't really do if you want to keep it a secret. The biggest thing, if you're someone breaking into tech, I hate to have to say this, I have a love and hate relationship with networking, but networking. That's how I got my first job in tech. I had been applying, but I knew the right people, that they knew who I was and what I was looking for and what my skill sets were and my personality. They heard about a role. They thought I was perfect for it. They recommended me to it. I interviewed. I got the job, right? So knowing the right people is important. And I hate that that's the reality. But especially if you're like trying to break into it, that's really important. And I can give you examples of two that I remember because I've interviewed lots of juniors, but there's this one guy that I know, he had 3 companies specifically that he was focused on. I want to work for one of these 3 companies. So he started building projects. His side projects were related to what those companies did. And he was posting them on LinkedIn. Obviously, that doesn't relate to the specific example that you gave, but he was posting them on LinkedIn. And then one day, a company that was not one of the ones that he was focused on was like, hey, I saw that you built this thing. This is exactly what we're trying to build. Do you want to come work for us? He did. The other guy was someone that was breaking into product, applied for a position on LinkedIn, or I don't know how, but he's probably had an email within it, and he was able to send a video. He recorded a video because he was really excited about the company, how his previous experience outside of tech had some relation. So he made a PowerPoint presentation, did not get an interview, did not get the job that way. But then 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks later, he went to a networking event. The hiring manager for that position was there. He just went and chit-chatted with the person, and they were like, hey, I recognize you from that video. We haven't hired someone for that position. You want to talk about it? They talked about it. He got the job. So like just having some level of a presence could give you vision. And I hate that has to be the reality because, there are people that are introverted and we don't have time to do that. But instead of putting your focus on like, why is my resume so bad? Or why is my LinkedIn so bad? Or like, let me send a message to 200 people. No, be hard laser focused on the things that you want. And chances are you're going to get more results. And that's what I actually wanted to talk about before, because I know I see a lot of people saying on LinkedIn, like these people that are influencers on resumes and whatnot, that you have to change your resume for every position that you're applying to. If your resume is well written, that is not true. If your resume is good, it should be good for positions that you're applying to, that you're a fit for. So there are 2 ifs there. Good resume, and you're applying for positions that you're actually a fit for. Are there times that making tweaks here and there because your previous career experience could be more relevant and you could give more context? 100%. If you really want to try and play the ATS and play the keywords thing, if you have, let's say, I want to apply for 20 jobs a day. Let's say you have a number like that. Out of the 20 that you apply, there's going to be 1, maybe, that your heart speaks to it more. Your heart is like, I'd love to work for that company or with this person or for that product. That's the 1 resume you put the extra time in. Everyone else, just use the generic good resume that you have. So make sure that you're putting your efforts in the right place instead of just putting effort in everything and just getting exhausted from it.
I love that part. Yeah, because again, we have seen it many times on LinkedIn, people that got the job after applying to X number, and they will give you like all the data, yes, 500 rejections, 20 interviews, 2, 3, whatever. But I think that comes to this, yes, it's a mix of the 2 things. And at the end of the day, and again, this is not what is the topic about, but you deserve to have what you deserve to, like what you want. And I feel like at one point in this number of like applying for so many things, we keep forgetting that we deserve what we want and the places that we want to be. So I will say again, make a mix in between, like apply to the 200 jobs that you want to apply that maybe you don't care, and that you may have that 60, 70, 80%. and then go hardcore to that space that you really want to be part of it. And that will get you closer. And again, when you were saying about just working in projects and doing things, that talks to who you are and what you're passionate about and how you excited. Like, again, if you're, let me talk about Cherry on Tech and how amazing this is because I love it. Yes. This is a project that may not have anything to do much about maybe you and this UX designer, but it has to do with a lot of the skills that I want to grow into and I be better. So find something that you're passionate about and that can you show off. I feel like that's it. We just keep talking and talking. Monica, how can people find you?
LinkedIn. You can definitely connect me on LinkedIn there. That's the best way.
Yes. And for people, next week, because you were talking about networking and how to do it, next week we're going to have Gabby. Is going to be a blast. She is amazing. So next Thursday, August 8th at 3 p.m. PST. Thank you so much, Monica. Finally, that I got you here. This was so good. I feel like, again, we can keep talking forever about this. Thank you so much.
Yes,
have a great day.
Of course. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.